Welcome. This is the first video for my altcoin hunt series. We're going to be checking out new altcoins that have just released recently and seeing, is it worth your time? Do you want to invest in these? Do you want to maybe have a small slice of your degen portfolio in this? Do you want to go all in, put 100%, all the chips on the table? Are these coins worth it? We're going to dive into each one. There's going to be 5 categories, each getting a score. We're going to start off with the first one today, which is Newton Protocol, aka Newt coin. Kind of a terrible name, but let's take a look at the coin market cap for it. It literally was just released yesterday at 9 in the morning. So as usual with these kind of releases, it had a pump, it dumped, and now it's kind of stabilized. We can take a look at the chart really quick. But before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about what this project actually is. So Newton is a project that's promising verifiable on-chain automation with TEEs, which is trusted execution environments, and ZK proofs. You might be like, what the hell is all that? We'll get into that. It sounds shiny, but is it gold or another VC kind of scam pump? So let's dive into what this actually means and if this token is a worthwhile investment or if it's good enough for like the degen portion of your portfolio or if it's complete trash and should be avoided at all costs. So we're going to start off with the narrative and the vision of this coin. So I'll pull up the website here really quick just so you can kind of take a look at what it looks like. Damn, that is bright. Okay, so this coin bills itself as a verifiable automation layer for on-chain finance. Sounds fancy. Acting like a programmable agent that performs tasks that you define, all cryptographically guaranteed. It's built by Magic Labs. We'll get into that a little bit in a second too. And it's backed by experienced team members. So I think some of the founders here worked at Docker, Uber, apparently Coinbase. It's already listed on Coinbase, by the way, so you can already see it on there. Newt aims to fix 2 major crypto problems, which are automation trust and fragmented UX. We'll get into what the hell that means too. Magic Labs, who are the developers behind the software that powers 50 million plus wallets, backed by PayPal Ventures, DCG, Polygon. They rolled this out because they realized embedded wallets solved access, and now automation is the real barrier. Manual moves, private key handling, all that stuff is kind of difficult for the quote-unquote normies. And so Newt exists to allow trustless agent execution, wallet-friendly, programmable, cross-chain, provable boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. All sounds like a bunch of marketing slop to me. So what does this all mean? So let's get into that. So Newt is basically trying to be the brain that runs your crypto life in the background automatically, safely, and without kind of needing your constant input. Right now, using crypto is kind of clunky. You have to, go through a dozen wallets, sign transactions all over the place, hope everything works out, and hope that sort of nothing gets hacked. Newt is kind of flipping the script, saying, why not just automate all of it and prove that it's safe? So cool, sounds good in theory, right? What does it actually do? So it gives you programmable agents, like little robots basically, that can move your crypto across blockchains, stake or swap based on rules that you set up, and then manage DeFi strategies automatically. It does it in a way that you and other people can verify, meaning there's no shady middlemen, and you don't have to trust some random dev off the street. So, okay, sounds good, right? How does it actually work? We talked about this in the beginning. TEEs, which is basically trusted hardware, is like a secure vault inside a computer, basically. ZK proofs is just fancy math to prove something happened without showing the private data behind it. Together, that means you get fast, cheap, off-chain automation, but with on-chain security and transparency. So why was it built? Why do we have Newt? Team behind it, Magic Labs, they already have experience. They realize that, quote unquote, wallets helped people get in, but now the problem is what happens after. Too many clicks, too much trust, not enough automation. This coin is basically their answer to that. AI style agents that run your crypto for you with no middlemen. The vision, self-driving crypto, just like Tesla's drive themselves. Newt wants your crypto to manage itself, operate safely, be fully verifiable. Sounds pretty big, but with the team and the tech, it maybe is not just hype. I mean, the strengths here is that it solves real problems, right? The UX, the trust, the automation. It is a quote unquote battle tested team. We'll get into that. This is kind of the background on their team. So we'll talk a little bit about this in a second. User serious tech, right? The TEEs and the ZK proofs, cool. And it applies across DeFi, DAOs, and on-chain treasuries. So what is the risk here, right? That all sounds amazing, etc. It's a big vision, right? So there's a lot of functionality here. There's a big scope creep, and it's still early. This literally dropped yesterday. There was an airdrop, I think, before this for people who were in their Discord and something else. So anyway, that's kind of the background. We can talk a little bit about what Magic Labs is. So Sean Lee and Jae-Min Jin. Sean previously co-founded Kitematic, which was acquired by Docker. Cool. Docker Desktop, whatever. Jae-Min was an early engineer at Uber, where he played a pivotal role launching and scaling Uber for business, blah, blah, blah. So they say that the team is comprised of talents from top technology and crypto firms like Coinbase, OpenSea, which is the NFTs, Alchemy, Aptos, Meta, Apple, and Docker. Over the past 6 years, Magic has led the embedded wallet category, onboarding over 50 million wallets. So sounds great. Honestly, a lot of this is marketing. You're not going to make it sound bad. You're going to make it sound as good as possible. Whether or not this is actually worth investing in is a different story, right? So anyway, that's kind of the overview of the narrative and vision. Let's dive into the tokenomics and supply. Take a look at the chart really quick. So you can see the market cap is 101 million currently, and there's a fixed 1 billion supply of Newt. You can see that here. So that's the capped supply, 1 billion. There's 215 million tokens in circulation post the airdrop, right? And you can kind of, you can read their, I can bring it up here. I don't think it really matters that much, but you can read it in their light paper. So there's no full circulation yet, right? There's about 78.5% still locked up. There's a massive vesting ahead, right? But there's early transparency. There's on-chain tagged wallets. There are quarterly reports that we can take a quick look at if I can pull it up here. So I'm not going to read through all this, but yeah, there's quarterly reports. So they're at least being as transparent as possible. So you can see here, 60% of the supply, allocated to community and 40% to internal categories, whatever that means. Core contributors, early backers, 5% to Magic Labs, and 60% to the community. Here is the initial airdrop, network rewards, liquidity, et cetera, et cetera. So there's also a treasury, and there's 48-month unlock for some of these, and then 36-month vesting period, which has a cliff of 12 months. Basically, you have to wait 12 months until this actually starts opening up for the core contributors, early backers, and Magic Labs itself. So, heavy initial insider, basically, right? The ecosystem, allocations with quarterly vesting schedules. Cool, they're being transparent. That's good. But the reality check here is that concentration risk exists here, no matter what. Massive coming unlocks could pressure price until sort of adoption really scales. Whether or not adoption scales, though, is the question. Anyway, let's talk about tech and execution. I actually didn't give a score for these yet, so let me do that really quick. For the first portion, which is the narrative and vision, it's a great narrative and vision, in my opinion. Crypto is hard to kind of understand as a beginner. If they can make it super seamless, easy to use, have AI be actually useful there, I think that's a huge win. So I'm going to give that a score of 17 out of 20. So put that on the board, 17 out of 20. For the second portion, tokenomics and supply, not great. Not great, not terrible. You can see here they have a nice graph of the cliff. I'm going to give it a 12. It's not not where I would want for a coin that I'm investing in. So anyway, back to the tech and execution. Under the hood, we already talked about this, the TEEs and the zero knowledge proofs, which is the ZK. Cool. No more blind bots. We got it. Proven tech flow for the Genesis launch on Base, which they did May 7th. Live bots like recurring buy agents, prove that the concept does work. Again, it is founded by Sean Lee from Docker and Mr. Jin from Uber, people from Apple, Coinbase, so a good team. And it's backed by Magic Labs, right, which is a powerhouse VC. They have deep funding, about 83 to 90 million. And for the tech and execution, I got to say it's kind of up there. We'll give it a 15 out of 20. It's very real tech. It's not vaporware. It's still early, though. It needs audits. It needs widespread adoption. So 15 out of 20 on that. For the market structure and liquidity, the market cap is 101 million. The 24-hour volume is about 770 million. And, it's traded on Binance. It's traded on DEX. There's pretty decent volume. We can take a look at the actual Newt chart here on TradingView. And again, this coin was just released a little bit over 24 hours ago. If you want to play some TA games here, do some technical analysis right off the clip, there's just this bottoming zone. If it can kind of compress here a little bit, break out of this, range and kind of try and go for this, that would be structurally bullish, but it's still early, right? It's still early. So let's talk about the last category, which is exit risk and VC stakes. Again, the backers are big, right? You got PayPal Ventures, you got Polygon, you got Naval. There's heavy insider backing for this coin. So they are going to push it. There is going to be marketing. They are going to try to run the price up. But do you want to be their exit liquidity? Do you really believe in the project? That's really the question here. The transparency is higher than normal. They have tagged wallets. They have a public policy. They have quarterly reports. All of those things are great, but large tokens held by foundations and VCs still carry risk because of the unlocks, right? Because of the vesting cliff, and in 12 months, et cetera, a portion of the supply will be released. So the clear disclosure part, excellent, but the vesting cliff remains a real threat. That could lead to dumps, but the team's communication and transparency does lower the risk. Let's get to the final score. Final score is 66 out of 100. It's like a D plus in high school. Not great. It's a high risk, high reward play. So why it deserves some attention? It is real working tech with real potential user utility, right? There's a strong narrative. There's heavy development, high visibility. They have a bunch of, seemingly good engineers on this project, but the red flags are still there, right? Token unlocks definitely trigger volatility, definitely trigger dumps in price, and the market's still speculative, right? You're basically gambling that adoption will happen for Newton. So we'll see. It is backed by experienced players, not just like an influencer coin. The tech execution is real. The transparency is really good. But again, there's the token unlocks. There's the kind of speculative structure of the tokens, all of which is transparent, so you know what you're getting into. And it's something to keep on your radar. Would I buy it? No. But if the price action, kind of makes the case for it, it might be worth it. But at this point, I really wouldn't touch it. Anyway, that's the analysis for Newton. Hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.